Now that we've seen a couple of examples using the move steering blocks, let's talk about them in a bit more detail. Remember how I asked you to make sure that your wires were plugged into motor ports B and C? Well, that was because the move steering block assumes that's where you'll plug in your motors. While you can specify a different pair of ports in the software, I think it's much easier to simply be sure to plug your motors for the two wheels into ports B and C. This first menu item is called the mode selector. It allows you to specify how to measure the duration of movement, that is, how long the wheels should continue to rotate. On for rotations means you should count the rotations of the red part of the motor. If I have on for rotations selected here, then I specify the number of rotations that I want to do in this area. And it's okay to put a decimal number in there. So if I put 0.5 in there, what I'm saying is that I want you to go half a rotation. If you prefer using whole numbers, you can specify your rotations in degrees. Remember that 360 degrees is one full rotation. So for example, we could change this to on for degrees, and if we set this number to 90 degrees, we still have a quarter of a rotation. Remember, when we talk about on for rotations and on for degrees, we're measuring the movement of the motor, not of the robot. On for one full rotation means that the robot's wheel will rotate by 360 degrees. And just because your wheel is doing, say, one full rotation, doesn't mean your robot will turn one full rotation in place. You can also specify a number of seconds for your robot to move. Keep in mind that when you specify the duration in rotations or in degrees, the robot will move exactly the same distance every time you run the program. If you specify a length of time to move, however, the distance may vary somewhat depending on the level of charge in your batteries. So if we look at this on for seconds block, then we can program our robot, let me just click in there, to move for 2.8 seconds. There are two more options in this menu, on and off. We'll talk more about them later. You can adjust the robot's steering using the slider bar. If I click on this steering, you can see when it's centered, the robot drives pretty much straight. Slide it to the left and we tell the robot to go towards the left, and to the right to go towards the right. You adjust the amount of power that's sent to the motors with the power slider. This value represents the percentage of full power that's sent to the motors. So a power of 100 results in the robot moving at top speed. Here's the power level. A power level of 0 represents stop. But depending on what your robot looks like, your robot may not actually be able to start moving until the power level's quite a bit higher than 0. So depending on your robot, 14 might not cut it. You may need to have it up at 42. Note that if you have a negative value here, that results in your robot moving backwards. This last option is called brake at end. You can set it to true, that is brake, by selecting the check mark. Your other choice is false or coast, and that's symbolized by an X. The check mark or brake setting means when you've moved the duration that I specify, hit the brakes. In contrast, the X or coast setting means when you've moved the duration I specified, just turn off the power to the motors and allow the robot to coast until friction causes it to stop. Once you can program your robot to move, you can do all sorts of fun things. Get the robot to trace out geometric shapes, or estimate the distance a robot will move with a certain number of rotations of the wheel based on wheel size. And then there's my favorite early assignment for students. Have the robot do a dance. Dancing is a great assignment because your students have the freedom to make the dance as simple or as complicated as they like. Adding some background music adds a lot of fun too. Setting up a synchronized group dance is also fantastic. Synchronized group dancing is easy. Once you've written a cool dance program and downloaded it to your own robot, just disconnect your robot, connect up another robot, and download the same program to the second robot. Repeat this process as many times as you like. Then you just have to make sure you press run on all the robots at the same time, and it's a dance party.